But here's what's important about the next piece of the story. If it wasn't for getting a license, I would never have the next piece of my story.
Absolutely. And that is what it's all about.
He said, Lincoln, and this is after I got to know him quite well. He said, what do you really want to do? Because, and that was another very important question that somebody asked me. So I asked my dad, who's the most successful person you know? That's who I want to interview. That has integrity. You know, I want all that too. But second most important question that was asked to me was, what do you really want to do? I think it's a very profound question that if any of your listeners have not pondered that, not just heard that and said, hey, like the answer to that question is not, I want to make a lot of money. By the way, money's not going to make you happy, by the way. Right. And the answer was very interesting. So I said, Fred, I want to own a college bar. That's what I wanted to do. Like that's at that moment, that's what was on my heart. So Fred Hightower, you asked me what the story is. You said 45 minutes might not be enough, and maybe it's not, but here we go. So Fred took me to a bank. I had not much money in my pocket, and he took me to the bank. I got denied for a loan to open up a bar that was for sale at Kent State University, and went to another bank with Fred because he knew all the bankers in town. I got denied. Rod, I went to a third bank. I got denied again. And I said, Fred, I'm doing okay with insurance right now. I've got this, kind of buddy network, which I didn't know was my team, by the way. I didn't understand that at the time. That was my team. I was getting paid off of them, but we were just all buddies. I didn't have the mentality of I'm leading these people. I was just having them join the party.
We're just having a good time.
We were just having a good time. Took me to a fourth bank. I'm like, Fred, I'm getting beat up. I know I don't have much. I don't have anything. All right. I don't have any assets. I don't have much right now. They're not going to loan me the money to buy this bar. And he's like, I want to show you how money works. Go to another bank with me. Finally, we went to Key Bank in Youngstown, Ohio. Fred was always there with me at my side and said, hey, I just want to introduce you to the bankers that I know. They ended up loaning me $30,000, Rod. I thought that $30,000 was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. I had to put $25,000 down. I had $5,000 in the bank after I bought this. I mean, you ever heard of a dive bar? This was a dive bar.
Yeah.
It happened to be a music venue, which is why I wanted to buy it. So my focus kind of got torn away from insurance, but not totally. It was always going down or going on in the background. Always, never stopped. But purchased a bar, happened to do really, really well. I don't think this is the platform to explain why that worked really well. But
it's a college town. It's a bar.
College town. Right. It's a bar. I knew a lot of people at Kent State University.
Yeah. And you had the happening spot out there. Let's just put it out there.
What I will say is when you know the cheerleaders and the dance team and the football players, the wrestlers, some fraternity, you get them coming, everybody comes. So it worked out pretty well. I got a little cocky, which was not smart, by the way. And I bought a very large fine dining restaurant. Happens to be one of the pictures that I brought here as well. So it was right on a lake. I had 22 dock slips.
Nice.
Had a little tower up top, fine dining restaurant on the main level, and then had during the summer 110 W-2 employees at that place. Still had a little insurance going on in the background, had people meeting me at the restaurant there, never left that. And I think for even the successful people that may have gotten away from the industry, and hopefully there's a couple that listen to this interview, never let go of the license. You never know what's going to happen. It's so valuable. Anyways, had that, built and sold it, had some really big trials and tribulations there, ended up buying and selling a few other restaurants. And then what? So you have to analyze what's going on. So after I sold the fine dining restaurant, I kind of missed that team atmosphere that I had as what do we call it? The party. We were just having a good time, right?
Yeah.
I missed that. I started to rebuild, start up another agency, and then ended up merging a book of business of mine, which happened to be Fred Hightower's book of business, with a larger conglomerate. And it was probably some of the most fun I've had in the insurance industry. I mean, you mentioned a story early on where it even took us outside of the country, having a good time in other countries. I mean, people might hear that right now and be like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all of that happened. And I'm so grateful and thankful to all of those people. I'm sure that you are as well.
Absolutely.
And, what a great experience that was. So currently,
Can I hop in real quick?
Yeah,
I want to go back because, when we're talking about, getting the license and kind of the platforms that it creates and I think, but more importantly, like the experiences that you have and the lessons that are learned. So the license kind of introduced you, to an opportunity. With that opportunity, you got some professional development, some personal development. We're able to expand your entrepreneurial endeavors to the bar, then over to the restaurant. You breezed over this, and you don't have to get into detail, but I've heard this story before about the restaurant, and there was something that was said to you that I always kept, that I've even said to other people.
I know I know where you're going, all right, but finish, and then I think I know what you're talking about. I might not be right, but I think I know where you're going.
There was something that was said to you, that I've held on. I have several Lincolnisms, that I've carried on. And if you don't mind, I'd love for you to kind of share that. Like I said, you don't have to get into the specifics of it, but just what the lesson was in that, and what was the thing that was said to you that caused you to start to kind of pivot and take some other approaches to it.
Yeah, look, you know what's so strange? I got chills down my back when you brought that up, because I used to tell that story a lot. I've not told this story in quite some time, years and years. I remember the story. I think I remember the story you're talking about. The story was another mentor of mine came up to me at the restaurant and said, how much, and it was in the insurance industry, by the way, how much are you going to make at the Old Harbor Inn, this beautiful place? I'm going to show it again, right? Just because I was really proud. I love this place. And
if we get a digital copy, we'll have it on the screen too when we have this on YouTube.
Anyway, so said, how much are you going to make next year off of all the work that you did, all that blood, sweat, and tear? And Rod, I think this is important. I had no children at the time. It was my beautiful wife and myself. She helped out at the restaurant a little bit, but had another career outside of the restaurant. And we worked our tails. I was the first one there at 9 a.m. in the morning. I know that doesn't sound early, but when you close at 2:30 a.m. and get home at 4 a.m. and then you're there every morning, I had about 4 or 5 hours of sleep every day. It was not a job. It's not a career. It is a lifestyle that I was living. I slept 4 or 5 hours at most every night, and I loved it, by the way. I did. I really did. I loved it. But to your point, somebody came up and said, how much are you going to make for your household next year off of all that hard work you did at the harbor the year before? And I had to pause and kind of think about it. I'm like, all right, well, how much am I going to make? And I remember asking them, how much am I going to make off of the restaurant next year for what I'm doing now? I said, that doesn't even make sense. I still got to sell lobster tails and fillets and, quite a few pina coladas next year to make the same amount I did the year before. And they said, that's why you need to get back into the insurance industry. I was still making, and quite frankly, I didn't realize that I had this trail of money still coming in, and it wasn't a ton, but I still had money coming in from what I did when I was just graduating college at the time. And that's why I said, you know what? All right, it's time to rethink what my insurance license has actually done for me. And it did. It really hit me. I don't know if that's the story you were talking about.
That was a part of it, but also when the guy told you that, he said you can get mad or you can get better.
Oh, No, I remember that. So at
Yeah.
that beautiful place, I almost lost everything. Like this is not just all, sugar plums and candy canes right now and,
Yeah. Because
beautiful.
this is real talk. People, we get all of the good of the industry in the recruiting room, which is why I started this platform, because I want to hear the real experiences
Yeah.
that we go through in this business.
Hey, well, the real experience, and I'll make this brief because I know I've elongated way too much already. The first year that I bought that beautiful place, I had a cash cow going at my college bar. I still had that at the time too. I had to sell my cash cow to keep the cash drainer going because I had too much vested there. I almost lost everything. I was literally, this is not an expression. I was literally pulling my hair out because I was $1.6 million in debt. And I was 25, 26, maybe 27 almost years old. And people feel bad when they can't pay their, $23 phone bill or maybe $80 phone bill, whatever it is. I was $1.6 million in debt and sinking quickly. That's when that conversation happened, Rod. It was the landlord of that establishment that came in and said, let's sit down, because he liked me, but I was past due on rent, Rod. I was.
Yeah.
And rent there, including the business payment, was about 25,000, not 2,500, $25,000 per month.
Wow.
So that's when he said what you just said, which I know we're kind of repeating ourselves now, but that's when the lesson was learned on you can get mad or you can get better. Because I gave him all these excuses, the past owner did this and didn't tell me about this $130,000 expenditure, which was true. The grinder pump for the whole pump and sewage station completely went down. That was about a $200,000 extra. Like there was things that just happened. And that's business, baby. It's messy. It's messy. And you can get mad or you can get better. And I think that I'm so thankful you brought that up, because even though I didn't catch on to that, that's what you wanted me to, comment on. What an important lesson, because that's so true to all the viewers. You can get mad or you can get better.
Get better. That's
So
it. I think that the reason I wanted you to speak to that, and you know what, it's actually a perfect kind of transition into, hey, what is your insurance business doing? And let's kind of, capitalize and optimize that, some more as well, because sometimes, people see success in a very two-dimensional fashion, right? And you look and you see someone who you perceive things are a certain way, and you never know, kind of how things are being maneuvered. But success isn't the thing. The success is the journey. It's the mindset. It's what allows you to continue to move forward. So I'm glad that you actually talked about the insurance. Hey, look, let me look at this insurance business, because I still have this. And the reality is, just like music, hey, a musician has to go on tour every year. Nobody's buying music nowadays. The musician has to go on tour every year. You got to go try to get those same gigs that there's other new talent coming in for and trying to take those slots. Whereas, as you mentioned, once you're in this industry, you have that license. One, you can always go and find an opportunity. But as you're building that passive income through those renewals, through those trails, that's money that's always going to be coming in as well, that you can always look to and say, man, I did that work. You're 23 years in the business now. I did this work 20 years ago. You're still receiving renewals from stuff from way back then. So I think
that made me feel much better about how many.
Yeah. So it really is amazing. So yeah, let's kind of transition, into the shift. You started working with this company. That's where we met. You left Ohio. I don't want to tell the whole story, but I love for you to talk about, kind of leaving Ohio. Obviously, we met. We don't have to talk about we met, and this is about you. But we got to meet when you came to Virginia, and your family, because you mentioned Lynn and you got the kids. So tell me about the next chapter in Lincoln Baringer's journey.
Yeah, so it's all about timing. I had just sold not just the fine dining restaurant, got back into insurance, started an agency, was still buying and selling some bars and restaurants. One I fully owned, and then I sold that off. It was called The Barn, BAR''N, had a mechanical bull. You would have done beautifully on that bull, by the way. You would have probably lasted about 1 second. I'm just saying
Probably.
it was a rough
Probably.
rider.
I've never ridden a bull.
And well,
I did do horses in Mexico. Would
yeah,
yeah.
that sounds like a story we need to talk about. I didn't know.
Right.
How long did you last on the horse?
Oh man, miles. It was
Oh, wow. All right.
good. Yeah.
All right. So it was a smooth ride.
Yeah. Crotch was a little sore afterwards, but it's okay.
I bet. I bet. Yeah, I've not done that one. That's what I'm worried about. All right. So anyways, timing is very interesting. My agency started to grow and then bumped into a larger conglomerate. It quite frankly was just a competitor of mine. And we were at a tipping point. Do we keep competing or do we join? And I don't love that phrase, if you can't beat them, join them. But it came to mind right now.
Yeah.
I had to decide, do I want to fight or do I want to join forces? For me, whenever I entertain something like that, it has to do with the people that I'm going to join forces with, right? Are these good people? I met some of the most honest, incredible folks that were a competitor of mine. And you know them. We worked for many, many moons together, and I still love them. So I don't know if any of them will ever watch this, but I hope they do, because I have so much love and respect for especially the leadership there. And it was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful years. What happened was that we started to grow. They gave me a little bit more territory in Ohio, and that moved me down to Virginia. So the timing was perfect because I was in a transition between, Rod, even when I moved to Virginia, when you met me, I had a hard time saying I wasn't a restaurateur and a real estate investor. I mean, it was hard for me to not talk about that because in my head still, I was still a restaurateur and a real estate investor. And I had to switch gears on who you are, right? But I've learned a lot about that. You're whoever you are at that moment. You got to be the professional. And when I moved down to Virginia, I had a newborn. She had just turned 1 when we moved down here, and a 3-year-old. And we're offering the voluntary benefits. We're building teams, had a blast doing it, had some of the most remarkable people. Some of those most remarkable people didn't even live in Virginia, but I inherited them on the team. That's where I met you and a bunch of other folks that I still talk to today. And then something interesting happened. I moved down here for a business opportunity and a maneuver to get away, because by the way, Rod, I'm just calling it what it is, the restaurant lifestyle, you meet people. And you are exactly who you hang out with and the books you read, right? Or maybe listen to now. That's an old one, but for the listeners, you are going to be exactly who you hang out with and exactly what you listen to. That's why people should listen to your podcast, by the way.
Absolutely.
They'll become millionaires in 3
and they should read my books too.
Yeah, and they should read your books.